many people feel inspired to start a circle for trance. And I think that's wonderful on many levels. Well, of course, you're going to be with like-minded people. And it's going to give you the opportunity to dedicate time to develop. But there are a few things that are quite important to remember. And probably the most important one is to remember that you need to have the dedication, the commitment, and you need to be clear from the outset why you're sitting. So if it is to develop one medium who has shown particular, shall we say, promise in that area of needing to develop their trance mediumship, then you have to be absolutely sure as a sitter that you are prepared to assist that development. One of the difficulties is quite a few people are interested in trance, want to start a trance circle, and despite being invited or agreeing to create a new trance circle, secretly they desire that the focus is upon their development. And that's not going to work if there's one particular medium who needs to develop and has requested the help of other sitters. So your sitters need to know exactly what it is. Is it kind of a free-for-all, let's just sit and see what we get? Or is it that we are sitting for one? Traditionally in the past, and when I talk about the past, I'm talking about the post-Victorian era of spiritualism and the way that circles and development evolved since then to modern day. But traditionally in that time period, it would be sitters sitting for one primarily. And their dedication was purely to assist the medium and the presence of spirit. I was very lucky some years ago to have a lady who would come to anything that I did, circles, development groups, and she just wanted to sit there and give power to everybody else. Rather like healing, she just became a channel for this intentional power to assist everyone else. And she got so much joy from that. She didn't want to do anything further with her own mediumship. She just wanted to be there and to sit in that power and to intend it to help other people. People like that are very rare to find nowadays, but when you do, they're an absolute blessing and a treasure. And it was really wonderful for me to experience that, because I had been teaching at the Arthur Findlay College for quite a few years by then. And of course people come on a trance course and everyone wants to develop their trance. So it was really quite special to have somebody there who was just there purely to assist others, with no need to develop, no desire and no intention to develop themselves as the medium. But as I just mentioned there at the college, of course, people would come to develop their mediumship and their trance mediumship, and they needed to develop individually as well. And you can do it as a group as well. And there are many exercises and building of power within that group. In all instances, you need to find harmony. So if, for example, you have someone who perhaps is not playing ball, who wants all the focus on their development and isn't prepared to give back, then you find that the harmony in the group just disintegrates. So it's very important to get the intention right from the start. I'd always advise anyone wishing to start a trance circle to have a pre-circle, to meet together, find out if they feel compatible. If one person is creating that circle, then they would have the final say as to who the sitters are going to be. And there are times when it can seem quite brutal. So you may find that a circle member is just not the right energy for that group of people. It's just not working. And it's not that they're a bad person. It's not that they're not doing anything. It's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's, for some reason, it's just not working. And I've had this before in general circles as well, and had to ask someone to leave. And of course, it's very perplexing to say, look, it's just the balance of energy isn't working. They do feel it very personally. So I would say that right from the get-go, have a pre-meeting and make the decision then who you're bringing into the circle after you've had that meeting, of course, and get started on the best foot. If you feel that things aren't progressing and things aren't working out well, then it's time perhaps to have another meeting or to disband the circle. But the role of the sitters is very important. Not only are they going to be sitting there with the right intention to give power, they're going to experience the joy of the power of spirit and that comes with the blending and harmony in the trance circle. And of course, they're going to witness any phenomena. For myself, although I developed as a trance medium, the joy for me, the greatest joy I would find would be sitting for other people, because I would experience everything as fully as possible from what the spirit world wanted to manifest. And I did love that power of sitting and blending with spirit in trance. But I have to say, it is very special to be a sitter and a very important role. So how many sitters do you actually need? Well, of course, you can develop on your own, and that's basically what happened to me. And later on, I had a few opportunities where people sat with me. But my development was on my own, and I used to ask the spirit if they wanted to speak, to use me as an instrument for that expression, and I'd have a voice recorder. Now, some people will say, well, why would the spirit speak to a voice recorder or speak to a room? They knew they were developing me, and I was allowing myself to be developed, and that I was developing that aspect of being able to speak in trance. So there was a cooperation there. So we had that agreement. But even if you just have one person who can record what's happening, can encourage you, that's a great asset in itself. Feedback's very important. And also what's very important is that you have that extra power. And that can really help. So circles can be great, or having at least one sitter can be great. It's not the end of the world if you can't, and it's just not possible for you to find a sitter. If you're meant to develop this, you will. And that's exactly what happened with me. But looking back, if given the choice that there would be a dedicated circle where I could sit regularly and we could form a harmony and a trust and build that, I think it would have been much easier, perhaps, much more enlightening, and of course much more sociable. So the work with spirit is sociable. You know, we're communing, so it would be great to have had more people to share that with. However, it didn't stop me. So sitters are very important. When it comes to the actual circle, there does need to be a clear understanding of the rules. When it's going to end, who is going to bring the circle to an end if they feel something is wrong, what time everyone arrives, what room you're going to use, how regularly you're going to meet. Now, some people meet every week, some people once a month, some people fortnightly, and some people it's ad hoc, which there used to be things said like it's better to do it every week because then the spirit world know you're going to be there. But, you know, I think there's an awful lot of this stuff that is propagated and passed on as if it is a truth because it's said so many times. To be honest, when you know you're going to sit, the intention goes out to the spirit world, and, you know, time, distance, space is not something that's a concern of the spirit world. They're not worried about whether it's a Thursday or a Tuesday, for example. So I think, yes, from a psychological point of view of the sitters and making the commitment, it's very good to say a certain day, a certain time, a certain place, and make the conditions. But from the spirit world point of view, I really don't think that matters too much. You know, time, distance and space doesn't exist. It's a funny old thing with trance mediumship that there's an awful lot of rather like this, the 100 monkey syndrome theory, that once something is said so many times, it reaches critical mass and it becomes everybody's truth. So if one teacher passes it on to their students, and then they, when they're teaching, pass it on to theirs, something that is not necessarily true, is not necessarily as important as it is being made out to be, is being turned psychologically into a truth. So, you know, just be very honest with yourself, be very clear of your objectives, make your rules, make sure you pick the right people if you're forming a circle, and, you know, you can always reevaluate how that's going as you go along. Monitor it. In the old days, we heard about scribes for trance mediumship circles. Monitor what's happening. Keep a diary. Keep a journal of each evening. Certainly, when we look back in history and what we can read about them, it's fascinating. And we know some of the great mediums, their sitters, who were present, have kept journals of those sittings, and we can learn a lot from that as well. Can you have an online circle? Yes, of course you can. Time, distance, space doesn't matter to the spirit world. Does it work? Yes, it can work. Personally, it's fantastic to have the people in the room and the social contact, and to have a nice cuppa afterwards and let off some steam if you need to, and you know, have a good yarn. That's fabulous. But if you haven't got access to people who can come to your home, or you can go to a certain place to sit, yes, it can be done online, and it is being done online by many people at the moment. But again, the rules need to be clear. There needs to be re-evaluation. The motivation's very important, and you have to do it all with a pure heart.